Okay, so this is a live session I'm going to do about improvising around chords. This is a new platform. Hopefully it sounds better. And the plan is to go over a few options you have around one chord, C major, that you can apply to any chord. So basically it's a way to improvise around any chord in one specific way that is divided into different ways. Let me share my screen and show you. So yeah, what I'm using is a cool website that I love called Guitar Scientist, that you can also create your own diagrams, and I think it's really, really cool and very intuitive. So what we want to do is, first of all, begin with the shape of the chord, right? So the shape we are playing is this, where we have the C. Hopefully you can see my arrow, I'm not sure. So C, G, C, E, G, C, right? These are the notes of the chord C, the bar chord from the 8th fret, the E shape. And the idea here is not to play the chord. Well, of course you can play it, but for the sake of what I'm trying to show you, it's more about visualizing it, right? So you don't have to play every note, you don't have to hold it, you just need to see the shape. Okay, imagine that kind of contour, like that. If you connect a line between those notes, these are your centers. These are the chord tones, right? The notes of the chord. And so this is good for if you can improvising, meaning if someone is playing the chord C and you want to improvise around it, or the chord progression has the chord C, then you want to improvise. Or if you want to compose your own music, create your own whatever it is, based on chords or starting with chords, then here's again a great way for you to try and play around it. So first of all, what we need to do is to make sure that you can play every note, right? That's the first fundamental, right? You have to know them, even without looking. And if you can, try to close your eyes and imagine yourself playing it, or at least seeing the shape on the fretboard. So once you got this level covered, we can start to move on to the next step, which is playing the major pentatonic scale around it. So you can see that 3 of the notes, the red ones, are part of the chord, and the blue ones are the ones you can add to complete a major pentatonic scale, right? So basically playing from low to high, you have C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D. Right? Now you may know the shape of that pentatonic scale, but again, what you can do is see and visualize the chord shape, the chord tones, and play around it, right? So you have, let's go back to seeing me. So we have the chord C, and again, to kind of represent the chord, I could just play, let's say 9, 8, 8, right? E, G, C. And just by adding one more note, you're already creating something, bigger than the chord, more interesting. You can end on the C, the root note, to kind of close it. And that major pentatonic has a very specific kind of a emotion, kind of light and happy. Right? It's kind of makes you want to play happy, sunny. Now it's sunny, so something that makes you feel warm inside and outside. Okay, so that's one option. And the next option can be this one, the minor pentatonic, right? So again, this is a very common shape from the 8th fret. I'll say the numbers first, 8, 11, I'm going from low to high, 8, 10, 8, 10, oh, there's a, yeah, sorry, 8, 10, and then 8, 10 on the G string, 8, 11, 8, 11. So what you have, this is basically the chord, right? All the red notes and the blue notes are the part of the scale. And here you have something really interesting going on a G string. We have E flat, E, and F. Two of the notes, they belong to the scale, and the middle one, the E in the center, belongs to the chord. And that's how you come up with this kind of lick, right? Bluesy, jazzy lick where you play the minor pentatonic. Let me show you. Yeah, so the minor pentatonic and then the and in the middle. Again, I'm finishing on C if you want to finish the lick or whatever you want to play, right? So hopefully that makes sense. You play the chord again, you can represent it by playing 9, 8, 8 again. Because it's a blues scale or pentatonic scale we use for blues, I tend to play it in a bluesy way, but it actually doesn't have to be this way. Let's try to see how can we do it. No. Yeah, so I mean, you can kind of push the boundaries of what you kind of may have known by hearing or playing, and try to find different ways to connect the notes. So the next option is a combination of both, right? So you have here the notes of the chord, including, by the way, the E on the 7th fret of the A string, that E, which is half red, half blue, because it's a note that belongs to both. So playing everything, and I'm going to go from low to high, will get you, oh, there's a missing note over here. Let's make it nice and blue. So playing everything here. Yep, so I mean, I can add a few more notes here and there to bring it up a bit. But hopefully you can see all the options you have, right? It's basically the two pentatonic scale, the minor pentatonic and the major pentatonic in one. And what you want to do is see the structure in between that can connect everything, or everything is connected around it, more likely. Right, I'm just kind of playing. Let me show you my. Yeah, so I'm playing 11, 10, 8, 11, 10, 8, 10, 9. Right, the first 8 notes from highest to that E. So what we want to do is have this thing I called chord tones awareness. So you're being aware of them, right? You can play the scale and then it will sound like a scale. There's no kind of center, and the center can be, again, the notes of the chord. So if you play a short phrase of 3 notes and the and on a chord tone, it kind of makes sense. Right? So you have again a combination of the major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, and both. And maybe the last thing I want to share with you is this. Oh, sorry, before that, not the last thing, before last. What we can do is also add the G flat note, which is a blue note, that is part of the blues pentatonic or the blues scale, because it's not the pentatonic, it's the pentatonic plus the blue note. So in total we have, again, we're missing this D note. So in total we have all these notes, 8, 10, 11, 7, 8. Both options, I mean, either the G and B string, you have G flat on those two places, which is 11 on a G string or 7 on a B string. So there are, quite a few notes, which helps us with, again, improvising around the chord, again, representing the chord, 10, 9, 8, 8, C, E, G, C, without blue. And it can create, and this is where maybe you can push your limits of the classical or traditional blues jazz into kind of more ethnic, right? Although I'm playing it in swing. So yeah, lots of things to play with. And this is the last one. The last one is actually, ignore all the scales and basically have all the notes, the chromatic scale, where you have all the notes around the chord. So hopefully you can see it's kind of swallowed inside. But all these notes are valid. Now, why? I mean, theoretically, yeah, you can think about the chromatic, so it's a scale, right? So you can play every note. Now, again, the center hidden is the chord, or chord tones, that when you are aware of them, when you end your phrasing on them, your phrases, your licks, it will sound like you know what you're doing. You can just play. You can play it definitely randomly, right? And that's a type of improvisation, but without a structure. Nothing wrong with that. There are, people who are into breaking all the structures. But if you want to have a combination of like the chaos and order, breaking the structure and then referring to the structure, then, avoiding the notes of the chord. Like I'm just playing the blue notes. Now I'm ending on the red notes of the chord, right? So whatever you're going to play around it will sound good. Right? Because again, you are aware of I'm ending on a root note, the C mostly. But even if you end on a G, it makes sense. All the chaos that happened beforehand resolves into a simple C major chord. Right, so all the notes. Doesn't matter what I played, I finished on C, and it makes more sense. It makes more sense. Does it make more sense? Does it make any sense? And maybe the last thing that I can share with you is the concept of, right, we just did it on one chord, but now I can move again to any chord. So if your chord progression is C and then A, that's what you do. You just play around the C major chord and the A major chord. Right, deliberately trying to make it kind of less obvious. A more obvious choice is to actually play the chord. Right? So once you have the chord, is like a reference. It's chord and response, or I call it chord and response. And by ending your phrases again on a chord tone, it's like echoing parts of the chord. Not necessarily all of it, but just even if it's just you targeting the G note and the B string 8th fret, and then same thing with A. Again, trying to be very experimental. And I hope you can see the endless possibilities you have once you have a chord. So that means it, the final concept I shared with you can cancel all the knowledge of scales in essence. You have two ways to go over it. Like, you can forget about all theory, don't learn anything, use your ears, know the shape, and again, you can use all the notes around it. That's it. Or you can do the other way, which I guess is more traditional, to learn and then unlearn. So you're learning all the notes, all the scales, the modes and everything, and then you realize I don't need them, and then you unlearn the shapes and you form your own kind of patterns, right? You can, using the last thing I showed you, is that it doesn't actually matter what you play, so you can create your own scale in a way. That's my scale for C major, right? There's nothing. That's a chord. I mean, if you play it when there's a chord in the background, it might be interesting, and sometimes we're looking for that interesting and kind of weird sounds. So yeah, I hope that made sense. Let me know, and I hope this was helpful and valuable for you. And if you need any help, watching videos is great, but no one is actually seeing you back and watching you and what you do and how you do it. And if you're using techniques that might harm you even, that's why we have a thing called guitar teachers, guitar coaches. This is what I do, and if you feel that this is something you want to explore, improvising, composing around a chord, then that's what I do. And what you can do, I'll post a link. I'll post a link to schedule a quick chat with me where we can talk about where you are now. I can hear you play and try to evaluate where you are in terms of what level and what kind of things you need. And if it will make sense for both of us, I can offer you a place in my Guitar Composition Academy. And yeah, no pressure, and we can just talk and have a jam. So this is on YouTube, so if you liked it, subscribe, follow, and so on. Comment if you like it. If you have more questions, please do comment as well. Until next time, take care.